If you're tired of hitting behind the golf ball, laying the sod over, hitting it fat, coming up short of the green with your approach shots, we're gonna talk about it today in this video. We're gonna get you a little bit better, and it may be something that you've never thought about before. Let's get to work. Today I'm gonna talk about one of the main reasons, the cause and effect for you not striking the ball as well as you possibly can. I'm gonna walk you through step-by-step drills to get it better, to get you to compress the ball better than you ever have before. My name is TJ Valentine. I'm a 25-year PGA teaching professional. Been teaching this awesome game a long time. If you wanna see my full credentials, just check out the description below. I'm not gonna bore you right now, but I've been doing this a while. So if you clicked on this video, you either enjoy just watching golf instruction or you want to get a little bit better at striking the golf ball. And like I said, we're going to go over one of the main cause and effects and the reason why you may be hitting behind the golf ball and not compressing the golf ball the way you are fully capable of. I want to be your guide. I'm going to walk you through step by step how to improve this, so make sure you watch all the way to the end. Before we get into today's topic, if you want a free swing analysis done by me, check out the link below in the pinned comments. For limited time, I'm gonna be giving away a free swing analysis to anybody that is a subscriber of this channel. So check out that link below. Let's get back to learning. First thing I wanna do here is define two things. I wanna define low point and I wanna define arc depth. So what the low point is in the golf swing is the bottom of the arc of your swing. So when you swing a club, and I know it's a little more complicated than this, but think of it this way. The club head goes up, the club head goes down, and then the club head goes back up again. We want the lowest point geometrically of your arc to be after the golf ball. Bottom line, you want to hit the ball first before you hit the ground to some degree. Now we have arc depth. That is the depth of this arc relative to the ground. So here's a good visual for arc depth. I just finished with about 200 box jumps, so I'm using my plyo box here. So here is your golf swing. In a perfect world, you want the golf club to strike the ball on the downswing. So if you look at the gray part of this arc and the blue part of the arc, they meet after the golf ball. So that is the lowest point of the arc. That is the low point. Now, this is a good strike right now, but what if I drop the arc depth? Notice where this club now is gonna enter the ground. It's gonna enter the ground back here. Now, if the arc depth is too tall, you'll catch it thin. If it's too deep, subject to how deep it is, that's where your club is gonna enter the ground. We have to control this arc depth in order to control compression. If you want to hit the ball better, we need to have proper arc depth. So let's dive a little deeper. So for example, this would be high depth, this would be low depth. Now when you think about it as it pertains to the golf club and the golf swing, if your arc depth is too deep, you are going to run into the ground first before you ever get to the golf ball. So we have to control arc depth. In a lot of ways, arc depth can be more important than trying to control your low point. Because if your arc depth is not good and your swing circle is too low, you're going to hit the ground before you hit the golf ball and you're not gonna compress the golf ball. You have to get good at arc depth control. So let's talk about how to do that. When I'm working with a student for the first time, I'm looking at really two things right off the bat. I'm looking at their setup, I'm looking at everything around their setup, but ultimately in their swing, I'm just looking at their impact conditions, and then I reverse engineer it from there. Then I ask the questions. How's your contact? How's your control at impact? Do you hit it heavy? Do you hit it thin? And typically you get all the above as answers. But the thing that I observe is the struggle at impact with the arc depth control. And yeah, you guessed it, most players, the arc is too deep. So that circle is just too low, so the ground gets in the way before the club ever gets to the golf ball to some degree. Now at that point, depending on their level of athleticism and hand-eye coordination, they can somehow manage to hit functional golf shots, but they're never gonna be consistent overall because they just don't have the consistency of that arc depth control. So how do we get your arc depth better? Let's go. The one thing that most players lack is the understanding of extension through the golf ball. So extension is the act of the body working up as you're swinging through. Working up as you're swinging through. Not moving laterally, not moving down. Unfortunately, a lot of players associate swinging down on the ball, compressing the golf ball, with moving their body down. In fact, we essentially want to do the opposite. The body, the chest, as we're rotating and pivoting through, has to work up. Now, how do we work up as we go through? Well, the first thing we have to have is we have to have width on the backswing, width on the follow through. We need rotation as well. So as that club is going back, and I've talked about width in the backswing in a previous video, I'll link that below, but as that club is going back, we need to have a pivot. We need to have rotation. This creates space for our arms to work. If we don't pivot on the way back, the arms have nowhere to go at that point. They're gonna fold, they're gonna lift, they're gonna do a whole bunch of things, and now your whole chain of events is gonna be left to just your hand-eye coordination, which again, some players can manage things. So once we have the width on the way back, we need the rotation, the pivot, and the width on the way through. We need to have these arms out in front of us. We cannot be here. We cannot have that chicken wing. That chicken wing is just a net result of these things right here. So we have to have rotation. We have to get the arms out in front of us. You can practice this simply doing what I call a waist high drill. So you're gonna get the club to go to waist high and then to waist high. Now you're still gonna have side bend when you do that. That right shoulder is still gonna be working underneath your left shoulder at that point. That's what we call side bend at that point. But what we need to add to ultimately control that arc depth, because if I just swung the golf club like this, I'm gonna chunk it. I have to hit behind it if I do that. So how do I control that arc depth? Now we need to have that extension. So as I'm transitioning down and I'm creating rotation, I need to work my chest up. I need to get my lead knee out of flexion into extension as I go through. It's gonna look something like this. So you can see me working up as I go through. Now the last thing that we have to make sure is we have to make sure that our head is fairly stable. So we have our center, our head can't drift forward, our pelvis can't drift forward. We have to be in a very stable position in order for us to create this extension. If I'm moving forwards, I can't do this because my body's gonna have to counterbalance itself by working back. So a good little drill here, you can take a second ball, put it out in front. You want your head to stay where that ball is as you do this drill. And if you can put all of those pieces together, I promise you, your low point control is gonna be much better, your contact is better, and you're gonna hit the golf ball much farther.